Hey everyone, it's Stu here from 3B, and today I'm going to talk a tiny little bit about Death Stranding. That game that's become very much like Marmite. Now, if you're in the US or not in the UK or Australia, you probably won't know what Marmite is. Basically, it's a spread that people either hate with all their soul or you adore and love.
Love it, hate it, just don't forget it.
There's no kind of middle ground. And that's what Death Stranding has become. It's become one of those games that you will either love or hate. But I also feel that, like me, you can do both. And that's where I am with Death Stranding. I admire the fact that it's stretching kind of an existing sort of genre of it's a bit of sort of fetch questy in many ways. But I like how they're trying to make it so when you are doing these tasks and you're trying to expand the network and open up America and making America whole again. That's sounding very familiar, isn't it? That the whole action of that has a real feel to it, and I think that's the key thing. I'll sort of look at the pros and cons for me. The pros are graphically it's amazing. For a PlayStation and PlayStation 4 Pro game, it is incredible what they've managed to do with their engine and bring out this level of detail. And you know, it's given the environment is so sort of barren, it's just rocky and so on, it would be very it could become a real problem by making it all very similar. It would seem very similar, just lots of rocks, and it would get very boring. There's no sort of randomness of nature there, but they've managed to accomplish that, and it seems very real. It's very visceral when you're walking, and I know that's a criticism that people have, but the actual walking aspect and traveling aspect of it has a real root. You feel a real connection to the environment of which you're walking in. A lot of other games, you're kind of just this character that magically walks and floats along the environment with actually not a great deal of impact within that environment onto you or you onto it. Whereas with Death Stranding, there's a real connection to that environment, and therein lies its joys and challenges. The joys are that you feel a real connection with the environment, and therefore you start to believe where you are and the conditions that you're in and how that makes you feel, and it's a real sense of both achievement and frustration and challenge of getting from point A to point B. The frustrations from that is that it is incredibly frustrating at times. When it works incredibly well. When it doesn't, you expose it for what it is, and that's an incredibly pedantic aspect of the game that just keeps poking you in the eye every time, and it just becomes so frustrating when you're just trying to enjoy the game, and then sometimes it's almost as though somebody is, you know, just taking that away from you. It's like, you're enjoying this too much, I'm just about to make this incredibly frustrating for you, and I am going to try and piss you off. That's how the game feels to me. So in terms of the mechanics of the game, I enjoy that aspect of it, but I also find it one of the most frustrating aspects of it. And that's where you can both love and hate the game. The story I won't go into, you can see that a million times elsewhere. Needless to say, it's incredibly convoluted, hugely confusing. I have an idea of what it is. I don't want to look online to sort of bring spoilers into it, but it is what's to be expected, if not more so. It's like they've gone way beyond, and let's make it, you know, really, really long-winded and confusing. And it is. It is quite long-winded. It is a little bit confusing. It is also quite clever in many ways, from what I'm trying to gather from it. Yeah, so the story for me could be an awful lot clearer, and that would then make it more enjoyable, but I'm trying to piece it in my head, so much so that when I'm not playing the game, and I have played over 30 hours of it, and I believe I'm at least 2/3 of the way in, it still is very confusing, and I'm not too sure if you know, any of those questions I have will be answered when it finishes. The other aspects of the game, in that the people are saying that it's a new genre, it really isn't. It is essentially just a fetch quest, go from point A to point B, do favors for point B to point C and point A, and in so doing you bring more and more people into this network, and it spreads across from east to west of America, and therefore you're bringing everything online. You do that through an awful lot of walking, or you do get vehicles. That's the other frustration. The control of the vehicles is incredibly frustrating, because I'm used to having, when I'm controlling a vehicle, the camera remain with that vehicle. With Death Stranding, the camera is not attached to the vehicle, so when you turn right, you just see that vehicle turning right, so you then have to also control the camera as well, which can have its advantages, but it's also a pain in the ass. The other thing I want to briefly talk about are the BTs. For me, these just seem like a thing that are just going to piss you off. It just seems like they're thrown in there, and I know they're a key aspect of the story, but it's almost as though they've just been thrown in there to create some tension, to create some sort of boss element, and all they do is they just drive you absolutely fucking spare, because the challenge is hard enough to get from point A to point B, because usually, like one I did last night, I won't go into who or what it was, but it took me almost 3 hours, because I spent ages going to find this one person, and then I had to take that person to meet someone else who just so happened to be at the complete opposite polar end. So I literally had to go all around through everything again, on foot, on bike, on anything I could find. And it just gets exhausting. You get to this point where you've struggled so hard and you just go, let's move on, let's go further into the country, and then you find out you've got to go all the way back, and you can't fast travel. There is a fast travel element, but if you do, you don't take any of your cargo. So, you know, if you have to take something, you've got to walk. You've got to walk that out. So those are my frustrations. I am enjoying the game, but I'm also, like last night I was playing it to some ungodly hour in the morning, and I was just getting so pissed off with it. There are moments where I look at it and think, this is incredible, this is a real feat of achievement. It looks beautiful. The way I'm connected to the character and the ground and the environment, and that how that brings me in. And then within a second I'm getting frustrated, because just the mechanics are just designed to piss me off, I feel. And I'm just as when I'm enjoying the game, I get taken away from that enjoyment, because the BTs are dragging at me, and I've lost all my cargo and it's scattered, and I've been dragged away half a mile down the road, way out the way, that I've just spent the last 40 minutes trying to get to. So it's an achievement in terms of graphically, and it's trying to stretch a genre to make it sort of very different. The golden rule for me is if you don't like games that are kind of meditative or where you can take in the environment, say for instance, as they've said, if you enjoy Red Dead Redemption, you're going to enjoy this. I think Red Dead Redemption 2 is a much better game. I don't believe this is a 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 game. I think for all the things it's trying to achieve, it also takes away quite a bit as well. This isn't a review, this is just a rant on on the game. My thoughts of playing 30 hours of Death Stranding. And it's a great game, and it's also a game that just drives you fucking spare. Those are my thoughts. I'll maybe post something else when I've actually finished the game. I'm about two-thirds in, 3/4 in perhaps. I'm nearly finished, but having said that, things just take so long. Take so long. Let me know your thoughts on Death Stranding. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you think it's the best game ever? Give me your thoughts. Give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to click the bell. Thanks again.